Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 40 of the VR Inside podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathies YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at the new times of 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. If you missed the live stream, you can catch up with the whole show as I re-upload it every Sunday to my own YouTube channel at Virtual Reality Oasis. Or you can check out the audio version, which is available over at Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. So, if you're new to the show, let me introduce you to the team. Hopefully, we've got everything up and running now, by the way. Apologies for the previous little stream. We're back on track now, so hopefully we should be able to go without a hitch. But let us know in the comments down below if everything's okay. We'd love to know your feedback. But let me introduce you to the team, of course. First up, this guy is going to be soon jetting off to LA to get the fresh scoops from the show floor at E3 is, of course, Nathie. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yes, I'm going to be your eyes on the floor. I'm going to keep an eye open for the best VR games, experiences, and apps out there. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, that's for sure. So, like, lots of announcements already. So, the excitement is real.
LA before, by the way?
No, like, this is my first time in America, so it's going to be interesting.
Whoa! Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Welcome to my homeland.
Thank you.
So not only are you going to be checking out all the cool stuff at E3, but you're going to be trying out Twinkies and all these like American foods that you've always wanted to try yourself.
Dude, it's going to be epic. Like I'm going to have a little bit of a holiday too, just a little bit. Like most of the time, I'm just like playing VR stuff, but I also want to chill a bit outside of the E3. Let's see how it goes. But I'm like addicted to checking out new like VR games, so I'm sure it's going to be like a hard way like of balancing that out. So we'll see.
Well, it's always good to get away as well, recharge the batteries, come back fighting as well. So yeah,
totally.
I'm looking forward to hearing your fresh news on the ground.
Stay tuned.
So next up, this guy this week has been fighting the good fight against the inevitable robot uprising, and his Chrome browser is of course RowdyGuy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
I'm doing all right. Like I'm saying, it's a nice day outside, and I think everyone in Belgium is currently outside enjoying themselves and have no time to be messing around with my internet. I'm doing all right, though. I'm doing all right myself, yeah.
So it's not the fact that you're trying to boycott the show because you want to just go outside. That's not what we're doing here. Okay. So next up, this guy, he almost didn't make the show because he had a lunch appointment with the Baker family from Resident Evil 7. It's our very own VR Twitch streamer, Zimtok5. How you doing, dude? You all right?
I love brains.
You do? Well, is it Rosemary, the mother there? She cooks a good brain roast dinner, apparently.
Does she have a name? I couldn't tell Rosemary. While I was just eating raw rosemary.
Yeah. But you've been jumping back into Resident Evil, right?
Yeah, Resident Evil. It's like I do love a bit of Resident Evil. I think they've done something really special with that game that no other game has really been able to do, because they get the story and the characterization so solidly down that the fact that they brought DLC out, which is what I'm now playing through. I've done 3 of the DLC. There's 2 more to go. They released a free one. So if anyone hasn't actually played it, there's a Not a Hero DLC that I'm playing through at the moment, which is a bit more like the kind of middle of the game. And you get it for free. So there's a free DLC and there's also a paid one. So I'm trying that at the moment and haven't beaten it yet, but it's rough, you know? Don't hit your head.
Yeah. The thing with Resident Evil is like I don't mind like watching the videos and watching like the movies, but doing that in VR is like a completely different kind of thing for me. It freaks me out.
It's way more terrifying. I can't even I haven't played Resident Evil 7 in VR. Like I look forward to it, but I just can't even imagine enduring those like stabbing scenes in Resident Evil 7 in VR.
I'll tell you the worst one, Mike. You have to do it. There is a version of, I think it's blackjack that you play with your hand on the table. And let me just say that there's a certain kind of ghost limb feeling that you get from Resident Evil and that particular DLC. It's called 21. play through to the end of that one, Mike. I want to see that video.
Because this is, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the kind of like the son of the family who's a bit crazy and is a bit like Saw. Like, is that kind of what you're talking about? The DLC?
That's the one.
The
I thought so much. I thought as much. Yeah. The puzzle dude. Yeah, he's super freaky. I don't like that guy.
He's in the new one, so he's in the Not a Hero one as well. He's like the main bad. He's the main antagonist in it. And God, the things he does. Again, you said Saw. That's it. If you want to play Saw in VR, then Resident Evil's your bag.
Right. Okay, cool.
I love it.
Okay, cool. So, last but by no means least, myself, Mike, the host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Stormland. Insomniac are building up the hype for this new big AAA title that they're releasing next year. We're also going to be talking about Apple ARKit 2, updates from Apple about their augmented reality technology. Will this finally make AR more compelling? Well, stay tuned to find out. And then finally, we're going to be talking about our E3 predictions, which is we discuss the biggest sort of gaming event of the year, which is, of course, E3, what we think about what's coming up and what's going to be releasing in the near future. But let's start off the show with how we normally start it nowadays, and that is to find out what we've been experiencing in the metaverse this week. So I'm going to kick it over to Zim first. Let's find out what you've been up to this week, dude. I'd love to know.
Loads of Oculus Go, to be honest. I've been using it as my daily driver. So it's been, and just for the record, because I've been itching my nose like crazy, I do not do cocaine.
You suffering from the old hay fever? Is that what? If that's what's going on, your hay fever's kicking in, or
no, I don't have anything like that. It's just literally this little patch on my nose that is, for some reason, causing me an issue today. So I don't know what it is. It used to happen in the DK2 days, so it's kind of like a little bit of annoyance and a little bit of nostalgia all mixed into one. But the Go is been just so fun. I'm playing poker in it. I'm using the social aspects of it, mingling with people around the world in it. I've still had loads of fun, and I mentioned it before, but like Deer Hunter VR, that game goes from being like a really kind of simple arcadey game where it's like shoot 2 deer, and there's like 4 deer, and you're like, okay, this isn't too difficult, to find 2 wolves in a pack of like 20 animals, and you have to kind of literally within seconds identify, mark your target, and take a blast. It's really quite good. So, you know, if there's anything that I would say about it is if you're in it all to the whole kind of God, what was that old game?
Like hunting, right? Like you kind of got it. Like, because I tried it on based on your recommendation like a week ago. I don't know. I just felt a bit weird because not like I'm like a vegan or anything or like a vegetarian, but like I don't know. I just feel something really bad about just shooting like a baby deer. So I can see why some people might not feel something with this game, if you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I mean that's why like it does the animations. If you're not into the kind of whole hunting sphere, you might be uncomfortable with it. And I actually that says something about it as a simulator, that it's actually
totally.
For me, it's definitely the most kind of realistic. And you are stuck in place. Essentially, I think you can move your head left and right to move a little bit, but you're basically stuck in place. But like the duck hunting in it, I mean, you're taking a shotgun and blasting ducks out of the sky. It's not like, you know, it's not a kid's game. It's a hunting game.
Yeah, it's a hunting simulator essentially.
Sorry, Zim. It sounds very violent to me. Sorry.
Nathie the vegan. All of a sudden,
I like baby ducks. I like Bambi, and I just can't handle this. Sorry.
No, and that's like because I did want to check it out, and I also checked out Vulcan as well based on your recommendation. And Vulcan was that like jumping one, and I found it very difficult. Like you said, I couldn't get very far at all. Like I was just like, no, I suck at this game. And then I did check out the Deer Hunter one, and I did the first couple of episodes, like missions, and then it does have that reward loop where you can buy new items and upgrade stuff. But yeah, I just don't know. Like, I don't mind shooting zombies or like shooting like robots when they're uprising and trying to take over the world, like Skynet, or like, you know, bad sort of enemies. But like I don't know, baby deers, I don't know, I think I have to draw the line there. But I understand where like everyone's a little different.
Yeah, so the one kind of main bulletin point I'd say from this week was as it was mentioning before we had the drop, the Oculus Go is a great little device, and I really miss being able to share that stuff with my audience. Again, being a live guy, the option is there to live stream to Facebook. So I said, heck it, let's try that this week. And so I did that. So what I did was I live streamed to Facebook and took my live stream from Facebook and rebroadcast that through Twitch. And so we did a live Twitch stream while I was going through kind of the menus of and showing off a couple of titles. And the really interesting thing was certain titles are essentially incompatible or blocked from live streaming, whereas others work. So for instance, one of my favorites, Poker VR, I think the strain on the system is too much to do that and streaming at the same time. So it just chokes before you can even get into a game. Whereas other games, almost the recording stops and doesn't even let you launch the app. And then I'd say 80% of the apps allow you in. But something like Netflix or whatever, one doesn't even show up. And that's for obvious reasons. But
of course,
you know, that kind of surprised me, but it was also kind of a successful test. And the best part about the whole thing, to share the information with other people, is that after this, I was like a little frustrated by it because I was like, you know, I know they weren't able to capture the audio, but the thing my 4-year-old says to me all the bloody time, but why? You know, and it's just, but why? Why can't I have the audio in this case, not the ice cream? But, you know, and then so I tweeted at Carmack and I basically asked him that question. And thankfully, he tweeted back in 2 seconds and said, you know, we're working on it. We're working on getting audio for broadcasting, which I think is so important for pushing the medium. Because if you're in a go, someone next to you can't see what it is. I'm actually at the point now where I'm trying to convince my wife, like, let's buy a second one so that we can play together, you know?
Yeah, and it's been a problem for content creators like us as well, right from the very beginning. And like you say, we've highlighted these things to Oculus, and Carmack has been really responsive in terms of stuff that I've tweeted to him as well. And he does say that native audio recording will come to the recorded files in the future. But I think the problem that we've experienced is you get variable frame rates, just like you just described. You know, you can record a video on the go on one day and then use another application on the other day. The frame rate of both those files would be completely different. So they don't record at a consistent 60
frames. I know what you mean, because I've tried the recording side, but for me, the streaming was solid. Like it was a solid, I don't know, it was 60 FPS or something like that. Maybe it was 30, but it was smooth. Like once the application was up, it was fine. I was getting somehow software layer blocked from launching applications. And so it would actually stop. It wouldn't even stop the stream. The stream would keep going. The stream would freeze, but the app wouldn't load, or it would load for me and they couldn't see it. So it was a bit funny that way.
Yeah, it's an interesting workaround though, you know, streaming it to Facebook and then restreaming that from Facebook to Twitch. You know, that's like a workaround, right?
You've done it before,
Yeah, exactly. Let's just hope that they integrate these like things natively in the future. That would be the best.
And that does work if you've got a room mic hanging out, by the way, and your little Oculus Go is sitting there. You'll know if you turn it to full volume, it can pick up the audio. So actually, the audio worked slightly at a desync. So it was kind of hokey pokey, but it still worked if anyone's interested in doing it.
So what about you, Nathie? What have you been playing this week, dude?
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of stuff. I checked out a lot of animations, actually. I watched Cairo's Tale, the Big Egg, like a small, like indie animation, super fun, like $1. I also watched 2 Google Spotlight stories. One called Piggy, and the other one was On Ice. That was basically like Queen meets Star Wars. Very cool. And those 2 are completely free. They are like available on Steam as far as I know. So if you are looking for a nice animation, then go for it. But the major thing I played, the most important one was definitely a wheelchair simulator. Because of the fact that this is not your casual simulator to make just fun out. No, it's one that is actually trying to spread a message about people who are in a wheelchair and how it must be to like face certain challenges, but also how people treat you like you're special or something. Well, they just want to be like everyone else. So at the start as well, when you cross the road, he's like, I'm just doing the same as everyone else, but just in a different way. But that doesn't mean that I'm special. Maybe if I save a cat out of a tree in a wheelchair, then maybe, but the casual things are you're just like everyone else. So this game is basically trying to just tell everyone like, hey, everyone is the same, but everyone has their own little package of what they need to deal with. So in the game itself, you need to play certain levels, and every level has its own theme, from construction site to a city to... Well, you go to all kinds of places, also like a train station, like one of the most dangerous ones, because you need to like cross the railway. It's tricky because you need to also shoot with a slingshot at certain points to open all the So this game is very playful. It's talking about a serious issue, but makes like fun out of it as well. So it's like a comical experience, really cool. And every level you need to like use an actual a wheelchair, or at least that's how it feels like. So you're just sitting in your chair, moving it all the time. The faster you move, the more you can do. Of course, the faster you can go. You can do all kinds of back flips and front flips and crazy Tony Hawk stuff. If you want to, you need to go backwards. You need to dodge all kinds of like dangerous stuff. I
think it's
a
may
crazy
have
game, but
lost
really cool.
Nathie's audio.
No, I can still hear him.
Okay.
Yeah, so Nathie still sounds fine to me. But yeah, so it sounds like it's a game that sort of is not only just sort of having a little bit of fun in VR, but it's also sharing like an important message as well, right?
Yes. And the money that you spend on the game, like a part of it goes to charity. So I don't know how much that is, but if you want to know more about the charity cause itself, it's like on their Steam page. Not that you just,
Yeah, so that's
no audio
awesome.
for Nathie.
Okay. Awesome. I can hear you fine, dude.
Okay.
It's an awesome way. It seems like an awesome way to sort of raise money for charity as well. So they're making this game not only just to sort of raise awareness for people that, the everyday struggles for people that are in wheelchairs, but also that they're raising money for an awesome charity as well. That sounds like a cool little game.
Yeah. Just to help us on the audio
I play a lot of stuff,
Nathie, because I can't hear you on my end. Would you mind unmuting in the alternate source, and we'll be able to hear you then on the cast.
Okay.
Maybe just to redo that, because I have no way of affecting anything. I don't know.
Okay, so while they sort out that, I'll talk about what I've been playing this week, because we've lost Rowdy. We're almost losing.
Rowdy's here, Mike. Rowdy's here. We just don't have his video. His audio's here. Are you here, Rowdy?
No.
Oh.
He's not in the Zencaster anymore.
Right.
So this week I played Moss because Polyarc, the developers of Moss, have been sort of cryptically tweeting out hints that they're going to be bringing Moss to PC really, really soon. And then, I was expecting some sort of like E3 release or something like that, some sort of announcement around that sort of time, because most of the big announcements are happening then. But then just out of the blue, out of nowhere, on Thursday, the 7th of June, Moss just dropped on Steam and the Oculus Store. And so I finally got to check it out. And I have to say I really, really enjoyed my time with the game. I think Quill is an adorable character, and the sort of animations and the environments just around sort of Quill and the story just like absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
So it was cool to finally jump into it, because I had actually bought it when I picked up the PSVR, when Nathie kindly gave me one, and I picked up a PlayStation Pro, and I maybe played like the first 5 minutes, but then I just never really had the opportunity to go back and play it anymore. So now that it's finally here on the Rift, well, now I hopefully have more time to check it out. But yeah, I thought it was really great. And in terms of like the control scheme as well, it felt more natural using the touch controllers than using like a PS4 traditional controller, because like with the left thumbstick you're controlling Quill's movement, and then you're physically sort of like interacting with the world with your own hands. So it felt more natural than just using a controller. But also like, because you play this sort of guardian character that is sort of looking after Quill, you feel this sort of real sense of sort of responsibility. You're looking after this small, tiny, fragile little mouse and guiding her on this like sort of epic quest. And it's got this kind of like really cool overarching story and narrative that guides you through the story, that explains why her quest is so important, and how the success of her journey is so integral to the rest of the story. So yeah, I think it's really, really cool. For me, it tops Lucky's Tale in terms of like a platforming game in VR. And I've only played like the first like 45 minutes so far, but I've actually dedicated like a time slot tomorrow to just say like I'm not doing anything else. I'm literally just going to play Moss until I finish the game completely, and then I can just move on and then maybe try and finish Red Matter as well, because I really want to play that game.
That's another one that I've got on my to finish list as well.
Yeah.
So
it's like first world problems, right, for us. We sort of tend to dip into like the first like quarter of a game, and then we never get to play it ever again. So I'm really going to make sure I put some time aside tomorrow to make sure I go back and finish Moss, and hopefully Red Matter as well. But according to Rowdy, I was speaking to him just before the show, and he was saying that the game is just under sort of 3 hours, so maybe like sort of 2.5 hours long. So I could probably get that in tomorrow, no problem. Especially if I've done the first 40 minutes already. But did you not get the opportunity to check it out on the PSVR then, Zim, when it was originally released?
I haven't bought it. I kind of steered away from it, to be honest, Mike. A lot of the bigger titles when they drop, it's kind of like this, like poof, and then like nobody is playing it after the point. So I tend to kind of target my attention to the after effect. And also it worked for me back in the day because, if you wait for a game sale or you just wait for it to dip in price a little bit, overall, all the titles you're covering, you, as I said, capture that kind of second beat audience who wasn't rushing to buy the game on the first day, just wants to know if it's any good and enjoys that kind of entertainment live, later on. So I've got a little bit of a different approach to kind of what I'll call it, the YouTuber rush to be like first, So.
Yeah, of course. Well, Nathie knows the YouTuber life. Have you sort of finished Moss, or have you only just sort of, like me, just played for sort of 40 minutes or so?
No, I played an hour. of the game, so I haven't played the rest, but I'm curious about the PC version of it and how it looks and how it plays. I mean, it's a little different, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Zim, are you saying that you can't hear Nathie? Is that right?
The show can't hear him.
No, people can't hear me.
He's got to unmute in the.
I'm talking for myself. I'm talking,
and then we'll hear him
for fun.
So if you unmute yourself in our program, Nathie, then we should be able to hear. The rest of the world should be able to hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
So that should be better now.
There you go.
Is that
Your
okay?
answer was Sir Nathie.
Okay, cool. So, Nathie, just go over what you just said in terms of playing through Moss.
Can you guys hear me? Put a thumbs up. So what I wanted to say for a while now is I played a part of Moss on the PlayStation for like an hour or something. But I'm very curious about like a PC version because there are some graphical options there. You can, you can play it in a different way where it looks nicer, it plays different because you are using different controls, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I on the PlayStation you were using a gamepad, right? And on PC you're using your controllers. Yeah. So that's exactly right. Like, because you're using the touch controllers, you can not only just control Quill, but you can interact with the environment at the same time. You're not like. I was surprised about the launch. Like it came very unexpected. It was just I saw the GIF of them like posting the mouse Quill. And I was like, okay, what is this? And then it was almost like confirmed that it was coming to Steam and Oculus Home. So. I expected this game to be an exclusive for a much longer time. I'm not sure about you, but usually PlayStation VR games take a long time before they come to,
Yeah, exactly, because it wasn't that long ago that it released on PSVR. It was at like beginning of the year, in fact. And like I said, I thought E3 was going to be the time that they were going to announce something coming up in the future for a release on PC, but then they just dropped it unexpectedly on the store, and then we were able to play it straight away. So it was a nice surprise for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time with it. If you're interested in Moss, I would definitely recommend you go check it out. It's available for $19.99 in British pounds on Steam and Oculus Store, and $29.99 in US dollars. So if you're interested in a platformer game in VR, I would say it's way up there. It's super polished. The environments look gorgeous. It just controls really well. But then just be aware that it is relatively short, according to.
And it's a third-person game too, right? I mean, that's something as I said before. That's like a specific genre that not everyone likes. But if you haven't tried a third-person yet, just try it. See if you like it or not. Because I see a lot of people saying like, third person in VR, that's not VR, that's this and that. I'm like, just try one first. And then, okay, if you then tried it and you're like, it still sucks, fine. But like, I don't think you can really hate on Moss after you played a little bit. So,
because you can move your head into the environment. So, like, Moss is obviously like a small little
first
mouse.
Person. It's a first person / third person game. You're playing as a guardian. You help Quill, and Quill is like a third person character. So it's a mix, like Along Together, where you are the first person ghost, guardian, whatever you are, and then you see in front of you a third person character you can control too. So
So Moss is out now on Steam and Oculus. If you're interested in a platformer, definitely go check it out.
There are some good third-person games. I just want to mention them. So we mentioned Lucky's Tale. So Mike, we've got that one. We've got Chronos. The one I didn't think of before, but I'm thinking of now is Blaze Rush. Blaze Rush, if you play that with friends, is really good. And actually the Oculus Go version of it, as well as the desktop version, are great.
It's really good.
The only thing I don't like about that is they have different compartments. So you have to have friends in that environment to be able to play with them. But I think it'll change your mind about third person if you play something like that and give it a go.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next bit of news, and that is Oculus Start kits have started to be shipped to developers. So earlier this year, Oculus launched Oculus Start, which is a program aimed at giving budding developers the equipment, resources, and support that they need to start developing games for VR. Now, Oculus states that just as they're sort of scaling VR technology, they're also scaling their sort of support to sort of the developer ecosystem. And the Oculus Start program was their sort of answer for that. And what you had to do is you had to sort of apply to enter the program. And if you sort of qualified and got accepted, then this week you were starting to receive your Oculus Start kits. And now there's a lot of sort of mystery in terms of like what was actually in these boxes. Because no one really knew. Oculus didn't sort of say this is what's in the kit. So they were sort of saying to devs, when you get your kit, like tweet out what was inside. And now that they've started to receive them, people have started to sort of explain what was in the box. So in the box for the Oculus Start devs, you got an Oculus Rift, you got an Oculus Go, you got an Oculus Start hoodie, a little sort of Oculus branded notepad and pen, some stickers, and an Oculus Start branded glass cup as well. So it's a sweet little package. You got some Oculus swag in there, but also you got an Oculus Rift and a Go, so you can start developing apps and games for those platforms. And I think that's what they're trying to sort of promote and they're trying to push.
Mike, I just gotta say, like, if you think about the value that you get out of a Go and a Rift for $600, that's amazing that we live in this world. It just kind of clicked for me, but it's like you get a Go and a Rift. Now that they're shipping this to these guys for free to support them as developers, which is awesome. But even the fact that you could buy those two headsets, wow, $600.
Yeah, exactly. And not only just the equipment is important, but the resources and the support that Oculus are willing to provide as well. Like we've seen with bigger studios, Oculus Studios tend to like see a good idea. They sort of then say, right, we're going to work with you now, and we're going to build this into something really great. And we're going to be talking a bit more about that, like with Insomniac later on, and what they're doing with Respawn. They're really working with these big studios, but also like indie developers to bring some really great experiences to Oculus platform. And I think that's great. And what we've seen with Beat Saber, indie devs can really achieve amazing things. If they've got a really cool idea that works well in virtual reality, then they can make it work. But what I'm a little bit worried about is that because they're effectively kickstarting a VR development project, that then it might be just exclusive to their platform. And I think that's the thing that worries me the most. I don't know about you guys, what you think of that. So do you think, like, the thing is, like, people get upset with platform exclusivity, right? So, if they're backing these projects, should they get the exclusive rights to them, or should they be allowed to have this game released on Steam as well?
Yeah, it's the same as angel investment scenario. If you're taking the money, if you're taking the props, then I think it seems fair. It's similar to if you develop in Unreal or Unity, they're going to take a slice of your action. It's the same thing if you put an app up on the Apple Store. So I think it's a fair thing to say that if you're going to leverage a platform, sure, we leverage platforms like Twitch and YouTube as well. So, and they all take their cut. So it's a fair environment. The thing that I'd love to experience actually firsthand, my wife and I have thought about it, is actually what is that like to start from scratch, get their support, for instance, and then develop on a platform. Because I've always wondered what their API is like to plug into. I know I've heard from devs some immediate feedback that has said it can be more challenging to kind of connect into Oculus's set and configure your game for Oculus and Oculus Home than some of the other platforms. Although I think Sony is still touted as the toughest from a QA perspective. Obviously, Steam now, that's another piece of interesting news. They just opened their doors wide to all games, and they're like, you know what? Forget this. We're not going to filter anymore. We're going to let everyone through, which I think is actually a good thing. I prefer a less moderated environment.
Yeah, totally. I think we're going to have to switch from our audio platform straight back to our normal video platform because I think Nathie's struggling to hear you, Zim. Oh. So I think we're just going to ditch that one, and then we can all hopefully talk to each other through our video platform. Yeah, and Rowdy's back in the house as well. Yeah. So hopefully everyone can hear everyone now. Just confirm that. So can you hear everyone?
Let's see. Okay, so testing Zim.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Everyone's back. Okay, cool. So let's move on because we're gonna have a bit of double feedback in our own ears, but we can put up with that for the recording, for the audio version, I'm sure. But let's move on to the other bit of quick news this week, and that is that the Oculus Go has released in China. So they released in China under the Exumi brand, and the Oculus Go is called the Mi VR Standalone in China. And it's estimated that they sold 30,000 headsets on the first day of release, and their official website completely sold out, so you couldn't actually pick one up anymore. After that, which I think it was like the first 5 or 10 minutes, they completely sold out. And then after that, they had a further 50,000 people sign up on their website to say they're very interested in buying one and they want to get notified to when the next sort of batch of hardware is ready for shipment. So it seems like, mobile VR and standalone VR is super popular. Like, in China, they've had, the Vive Focus as well available for some time. Isn't that right, Nathie?
No, that's it's a development kit, so you can't buy it yet.
Oh, right. Okay. But, it seems like it's very popular over there as well. They're selling out like hotcakes. So, when they get them back in stock, I'm sure it'll be the same again. But in terms of like the difference between like the Western release and the sort of China release of the actual headset, it looks identical. But the only difference is that the actual casing of the actual headset itself is white rather than gray. So you still have the gray front. You still have the facial interface kit is the same, but the actual frame of it is white. Interestingly, the other thing about it is that if you look under the left sort of strap on the US and the UK version, sort of Western version, you've got the Mi logo there. But actually on the China version, it's got the Oculus logo in that place. So it's almost like they're promoting one another, which is kind of interesting.
I've actually used one, Mike.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I used one. So with the Poker VR guys from Megaparticle, they had half and half. So they had like 2 goes and 2 of the Xiaomi or whatever however you pronounce it correctly. They are identical as far as I could tell in terms of their form factor, how they fit, how they worked. It's just to go with another brand. Obviously, it's manufactured by the same company, and the software that's loaded on there will be different. In other words, the operating system is going to be separated, and they're obviously walled gardens, separated from one another thanks to the Chinese regulations. Aside from that, same piece of kit.
So that was the one thing that I didn't know any information about, and that was like the UI. So is it the same? Is it like Oculus Home when you put it on, or is it like a completely separate custom-made UI?
App was running already, Mike, so I didn't get the chance to experience it from the base, I'm afraid. I only got to see the app that was running on it, and I think it was actually stripped down because they were dev kit equivalents of the product.
Well, it sounds like we need to get one from China again,
Yeah, exactly. For science.
Yeah,
I feel bad for Nathie's brother. Goodbye, dude.
Well, I mean, challenge accepted, right? No, but I'm very curious about that version too, and what it's all about. Yeah, it's kind of mysterious. The only thing I've really seen of the launch there was CodeSync, because they have been making all of their games ready for like the Go in China too. So
interesting.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see, because like from what I understand, they're going to have their own store. So like Mi are going to have their own Mi store. They will have some games that are Western games that will be ported over and sort of translated. But yeah, I didn't know about that. So.
I wonder, could you play WeChat inside a Go?
I was just going. I was like, so we've got the Wii store.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
store.
WeChat is like must be in there. I'm sure that's like the standard in China. It's like WeChat, for the people that don't know, is like. I mean, it's Facebook. It's everything together. It's all the social medias. It's how you pay. It's everything.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge over there, right? It's ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next bit of news this week. Rec Room Royale is finally out, so the wait is finally over. A couple of weeks ago, there was like a test weekend for Rec Royale, and we all jumped in it. We all had a lot of fun with it, by all accounts, as well. Mm-hmm. And we've kind of been waiting since then for them to release it as an official feature to Rec Room. And if you're not familiar with Rec Room or what Rec Room Royale is, it's like Rec Room is a free application that's available on PSVR, Oculus Rift, Vive as well on Steam. And it's kind of one of those great sort of social game social applications where you can jump in with loads of other players, jump in with friends, have a great sort of adventure together in these little sort of quests that they've got up and running. But also they've just released sort of Rec Royale, which is this kind of like a similar to Fortnite, PUBG. You sort of it's a battle royale game where you sort of all start off in a cable car together with 15 other players, and then you sort of hang glide down to an island, and then you fight it out to get the coveted award of Scouts Honor because you're all little boy and girl scouts.
Yeah, amazing.
Also, you've got like a swarm of bees, which are ever closing the circle, so it forces players to get into sort of confrontational situations, which is kind of fun. And we had a lot of fun with it back then, and now it's sort of finally released. So it released on the 7th of June, which is a couple of days ago, same day that Moss came out, so it was a great day for VR that day. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to jumping back into this one. I don't know if there's been many changes since like the test until like the official release.
Short, didn't it, Mike? I mean, between the test and the release, it was like bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. I mean,
like 2 weeks.
The biggest update was basically some updates for PlayStation VR users, some small ones, and a lot of like streamer options for us to like record with. So,
right.
But I'm sure they are going to improve it along the way. It's just unbelievable that this is free. I mean, I would have paid for this.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the thing. We've been talking about this for a long time. Like, how do they make this free? And they've always been talking about like maybe in the future they'll do some sort of in-game items that you can buy, but that doesn't seem apparent right now.
I look forward to the documentary. 10 years from now, looking back at how the Mafia promoted, Rec Room.
I think that they are. I think they are just going for a freemium game right now with not much going on, because I think if you would now sell cosmetics in a VR game, well, the industry or like community is still small, you're going to kill your game. I think.
I disagree. No. Hang on. Hang on. Like Poker VR is the highest grossing mobile app, and they do exactly that.
Yeah, but that's a poker game. We're talking about a game that is getting played by kids, young kids.
Yeah, but you do know what like having kids is like, because they just they're like, hey, Dad, I want this thing, and if you're a 6-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 16-year-old, like eventually that millstone breaks. Apparently,
of course, that's true. But being the first one doing cosmetics is still like you got to be brave.
Is anyone doing it at the moment? Actually,
no. That's the thing. Like, it's not a standard yet. So if the first one does it, people are not going to be amused, and then later on it becomes the standard, of course. But no one is doing it.
The only thing that I can think of is it was a first for the one that Here Be Dragons did, that Dispatch. Dispatch did a model whereby you could buy the DLC, because before that point, Oculus Home did not actually support the purchasing of DLC, and that was only earlier this year.
It's the same with Epic Roller Coasters. You can play the first one, and then the rest you need to buy. Maybe Sensor is an example where they do it. They sell in-game items. But that's
Face Your Fear. I noticed that. So the Face Your Fear, the different episodic content is available.
That's different. Like, we're talking about, you can play the entire game, but how you are dressed up, that's not something that has not happened yet, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So in terms of like features, what features would you guys like to see come to Rec Room Royale?
Honestly, what I would like to see is more players, of course, in a map, or more in like a huge like island. But the thing is, like, the game is not gonna like handle that properly, I'm afraid. So that's something I'm missing. Like, 16 players is fun, and it's like a small quick match, but if there was more going on, then that would be nice. Of course, the other stuff is like new maps and new weapons, but I would like to see more players.
Duos and squads is the first thing that you need.
That's what I was going to say, because like it seems like people are teaming up in this game already anyway, like unofficially, people are like making little alliances in the cable car before we even jump out, sort of saying, look, are we going to work together?
That's the thing. If you do squads and you have such a low player count, then it's not really that fun. Of course, it's like more intense, but you just need more players to kind of like make those other game modes work too, I think.
Yeah, but like an 8v8 team would be like a really, really fun, like 8 team versus 8 team. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it will definitely eliminate that teaming problem, because then people know that they shouldn't play solo, because no one is going to have mercy there. Well, if you play squads, then...
Yeah. What about Thanos? You want Thanos to come to Rec Royale?
As a DLC? Yeah, sure, man. Why not?
Maybe
some power-ups. Maybe like, I would love to see some team stuff, but Like that's more on the commercial side, I'm afraid. I'm not sure if Rec Room is like ready for that. Yeah, could be cool though. Like when I'm playing Rocket League, you sometimes have DLCs for like a new movie or a game. Let's say Rec Room has the Avengers or the Incredibles, and you got some costumes of that. Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah. It would be cool as well to have one power up that was like super like crazy. That was a rarer thing as well that happened. Like a chicken hat, and then all of a sudden, like you're really OP and you've got like more health or whatever.
I'm sure they are going to spice it up. But it's already so cool that we finally have like, let's say, I don't know. It feels like a triple A kind of like Rec Royale, battle royale mode. I think it's really polished, and the other ones were good too, like Stand Out, but those ones weren't really like. Rec Room is such a huge game, man. Like everything it makes turns into gold at this moment.
Yeah, and people were going nuts for that free weekend as well. So now that it's officially released, I don't think you're going to jump in and be struggling to find a full match full of people. Definitely not. So yeah, if you're interested in checking out Rec Room Royale, if you haven't tried it out, I'd wholeheartedly recommend you just dive in and check it out. Shoot some kids, get some sort of like frustration out.
Free kills.
Yeah, you'll have a good time. Trust me. Right, okay, so like moving on to our last bit of quick news this week, virtual reality has finally released on Oculus Rift. So when the Oculus Go first launched, everyone pretty much checked out virtual reality because it was like the go-to game to go and try out, because it was like the one on the platform that really felt like a fully fledged VR game. You had this awesome story. It was kind of a bit Portal-esque, where you had this kind of robot called Chaz who was making you work for these like weird robot AIs. Like there was a robot called like an AI called Butter that just wanted you to put like toast in him. It was super weird.
So weird.
It was so weird, but so much fun. And the other cool mechanic of the game is that you can actually put VR headsets on in the game. So there's a VR headset there, you put it on, and then you go into another world. And then in that world, you can put another VR headset on that goes into another world. And then when you take them off, you sort of backtrack out of those worlds into the previous one. So it's really like VR Inception. That's kind of what it feels like. It was a really fun game. But it was strange that it was never available on the Rift or the Vive. No. But now they've released it on the Oculus Store, so it's available for Rift. It's not on Steam right now, so I think it's still probably going to be exclusive to Oculus for a little while. But I would imagine it will come to Steam eventually, because it's been on Daydream previously.
Yeah.
So. But if you're interested in like a fun adventure game and you own a Go, then check it out. If you haven't ever heard of this game and you own a Rift, then I would wholeheartedly recommend you go and check it out on the store. It's available for $9.99 in British pounds, $14.99 in US dollars, and it's probably maybe like 3-4 hours long, I would say. But it's sort of like a narrative-driven adventure. And it's sort of like a tongue-in-cheek sort of comedy as well. So if you like that kind of thing, like Portal, that sort of sense of humor, then you'll really sort of jive with this one.
I got to play it this week, Mike. So this is the first time I'm going to make this remark, and the remark is I've been playing it on Oculus Go, and then I tried it on Rift. I played it for about an hour or something on Rift, and I noticed the difference in fidelity. Right. in favor of the Go, I was like, the sharpness in the Go was obviously on PC. I was using kind of proper headset and things, so the audio was slightly maybe better, and the graphical fidelity, the environments itself in terms of lighting, I believe there was a difference on PC. But in terms of sharpness of the scene and the panel that I'm looking through, it was readily apparent that the Go was better, which is the first time I've had that feeling. I think it's great that it's open doors. It worked great with the touch controllers. Having the one 3DOF controller is always a little bit awkward, but VVR does a great job anyway. So it feels like a AAA title, right? I mean, it's a great game.
Yeah. It sounds like it sounds like your first time outside.
It's like my first time outside.
But yeah, like, if you own it on the go, you need to go and check this game out. You'll love it. You'll love it. Yeah. But it's interesting because the developers, Tender Claws, they recently did an interview with Oculus talking about the re-release of virtual reality on Rift. And they announced that they're collaborating with Oculus to bring out a new experience next year. So that's another little sneak peek of what's coming out.
It's so weird. I didn't hear anything about this developer and their game at all. And then Mike mentioned it because it was on the Oculus Go. Before that, as we said before, we missed so much stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's very good. And it's it came out how long ago?
2 years ago.
2 years
and
ago.
It's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the same with Floor Plan. You know, that was a game that I originally missed, and I only got to check it out this week on the go. And yeah, that was a really great little puzzle title as well. So it's funny that we keep on finding these gems that we just missed along the way. You know, we're just looking at the big hitters, and we missed these cool little gems that we should have checked out.
Cough, cough, Resident Evil, Mike. We're waiting for your playthrough.
God, well, you know, maybe in the E3 predictions later I'll talk about that. But let's move on to our first main topic this week, and that is Stormland. So last week we had a little tease from Insomniac. They were saying that they're bringing out a game, and they just teased one little picture, which looked like, like a Johnny Five type robot in the forest. And we didn't have a name for the game or anything like that. So although we wanted to talk about it last week, we thought we'd probably better save it to this week after the announcement. Yeah. And so this week, the team at Insomniac finally gave us more information, and the upcoming game is going to be called Stormland. So Insomniac, they're not strangers to VR. They've developed VR titles before. They made Edge of Nowhere, which is a cool third-person platform game.
Very nice.
Spooky as well.
Very spooky.
They also released The Unspoken, which is a really sort of well-regarded sort of competitive multiplayer game where you cast spells. Feral Rights as well. Like I never actually played that one, but I think that one. I don't think that one did very well.
No, that one did very, very badly. Yeah.
Okay. It's a shame.
Yeah. Happens.
But they also made some incredible pancake games as well.
Yeah.
They made the Spyro series, Ratchet and Clank, the Resistance series as well, Sunset Overdrive, and also the new upcoming Marvel Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
That
Spider-Man game looks lit. It does.
Yeah. It's like, every now and again, even though we're sort of so heavily invested in VR, a pancake game turns our head, and that is one of them, for sure.
No, you're right.
That is one of them, for sure. But they are also making a VR game, which is great. And like I say, it's going to be called Stormland, and it's going to be exclusive to Oculus Rift. And that is because it was made in partnership with Oculus Studios. So like I mentioned earlier on with Oculus Start, Oculus sort of do fund a lot of these games and get heavily involved in the development. So if a developer's got a great idea for a game, Oculus will be like, this has got real potential. Let's work together and make this the best possible game it can be. So I do admire Oculus for what they do in that sense.
It's usually more effective than having a developer do it on its own.
On their own.
I mean, if you look at all the games they have been bringing out so far, like we had like that calendar year where they brought out like every month one game. Like there was always no game that wasn't that good. So I mean,
Yeah, Oculus Studios does a lot to help out these developers, so it has to be said they're doing a great job of it. But from the footage of this game, it looks like you kind of take the role of like a robot gardener, and you're kind of like tending to like this like planet, I guess, and making sure that everything's growing okay and everything's going fine. Yeah. And then, of course, something goes wrong. Some evil robots land and they sort of blast you. And then it sort of flash forwards to like a real sort of time in the future. You know, the robot's got like moss growing on him. And he's got like plants growing around him. So he's obviously been there for some time, left abandoned, and he suddenly comes back to life again. And you take the role of that character, sort of scavenging for your body parts again. So you see him like picking up an arm and plugging it in, and like an eye and plugging that in. And then sort of looking for his like robot comrades to bring them back to life as well.
Yeah, if I was that dude, I'd be pissed. You know, I'd be like, I would be like, you know, you beat me up, you left me in the forest, and I missed the second half of Game of Thrones. You bastards, you know, left me here for a millennium, and now I'm back.
I do get a little bit of like an Ark Park survival vibe here, not because of like I think the game is going to be really good, but the exploration part, I wonder how long is that part compared to that epic shooting stuff. Like I want more of exploration. I want more of that part. Don't give me like 20 minutes of it's also happy, and then fire, and then the rainbows are gone, and then it's only me just shooting around a bit. Just mix it up in a way. I would love to see that where you rebuild the planet, but then also doing that where you're not getting shot, for example.
More balance between the two types.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like Far Cry had a baby with Lone Echo. That's my vibe on this. Is that it's like it's trying to go more open worldy, but I wonder if they'll achieve it. So I have the same reservation Nathie just mentioned, which is this going to be more corridor in terms of the story progression, or is there going to actually be the avenue, like Far Cry, for instance, for me to go to town A or town C? Yeah. Like, do I get to choose my path, or am I very locked into a step? Because we've done Lone Echo. This looks kind of like that, but I like the background. I mean, for me, The Subnautica side of it was probably the part that I liked the most, where the giant, like, flying bony fish thing goes over your heads. I love scale being shown to us in these games.
Yeah. So like you say, it's actually more like Far Cry, like you mentioned, Zim, in that it's free roam. So you can choose which path you want to go. You can choose it. I want to take out this encampment first. I want to go and do this first, or I want to go and do this. The choice is yours. Yeah, but they will have a story narrative, of course, but the game is open world.
But like usually, like when I played Far Cry and all those open world games, like GTA, for example, it's usually you have missions, but it's always like including shooting or maybe some stealth. But that's it.
Yeah.
That's the problem I'm having right now with some VR games that are coming out or are soon going to come out. That it's always much shooter, and I'm like, why is that? Of course, it's appealing to a big audience. That's for sure. But it's just like this trailer as well. It gives you a sense of like, wow, I can really maybe explore a forest and really do something good. But then in the end, it's maybe you just throwing grenades all around. And I don't know. I mean, this is just a trailer. I would love to see some actual gameplay because it seems all very scripted, in my opinion. I would love to see some actual gameplay.
So, like you say, like from the trailer, you see shooting mechanics, you see climbing, you see gliding. They're like flying around the environments as well. But like, according to the sort of the synopsis of the game, they're encouraging the fact that you get to move around and make these decisions yourself. Obviously, like gunplay and fighting will be a part of it. But also the interesting part of this game from the website and their sort of information about it is that the Tempest, which I understand are the enemies in this game, they rearrange the Stormland to reveal new challenges every week, or even every few days. So the environment will actually change. So even if you've sort of done a mission here and you've done a mission there, well, the game is going to update sort of from the server in terms of new challenges, new loot caches. The map's going to change. You can play the single player, or you can play it co-op, or with a group of friends as well. So
that sounds interesting.
What they're also talking about is that you can sort of do raids together. So, like you mentioned, it's almost a bit like
Destiny.
A bit like Destiny, exactly. So you've kind of got this free roaming Destiny type style game.
There's a multiplayer aspect to this. I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more cooperative multiplayer, not competitive.
Nice.
But the idea is that they're going to have raids. They literally describe them as raids. So you're going to have to team up with other players to take down like that big worm thing that you saw in.
That's fantastic, Mike. Because at the moment, if you want to have a proper raid, Orbis VR is probably the only one that I know where you can go along with you could go along with 10 people and go take down a massive boss, and that feels great. I've done that. So that makes me a lot more excited about this because the social dimension to something like this can really make it blossom.
Yeah, and like I said about like the thing being like the game being updated regularly, like that means that you can scavenge items and find something that is rare that you might not ever find again, and that's what interests me. So like
Diablo
you could find.
effect.
You could find like an arm, that's like OP or have got some special skills to it that maybe you would never find again. So you have a unique loadout.
Skills.
I bet it has.
I think that idea is like really cool where they update.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, if you can't keep gameplay refreshing and it's always the same thing, even with like a different skin then it starts to get boring. So you need to find something that keeps it fresh in terms of gameplay too, because the environment can change, the boss you're fighting can change. But if that shooting mechanic you do with friends, it's the same with Destiny. After a while, people got bored of Destiny because they were doing the same thing all over again. They were just opening some loot crates. They were just doing this. They were doing that. And in the end, they always did the same thing. Like I always did that with GTA. I was stealing weed. I was stealing cocaine. I was stealing that. But in the end, it was always the same mission, but with a different like skin around it or different enemies that was fighting, but they were still, you know what I mean?
They could Borderlands this though, because like what was very, very good, and Mike and I played in like From Other Suns, the kind of infinite weapon, thing, coupled with, hey guys, I just found a rare weapon and you're holding on to that, provided there's enough disparity between finds.
Sharing.
And it's not just, I got another 1 point on accuracy or stability or something like that. Then it can actually be like, wow, I actually found this. Like it is the Diablo effect of if you find that item and it keeps you coming back. So I'm quite hopeful now, actually. I think this is sounding like a much better
but I mean, still, like the game you guys played together back then was also the same thing. You could experience it once or at least twice, and then you knew how everything was working. So then it wasn't really a surprise anymore, and it didn't feel new. So after a while, you stop playing because of that. So that's what I wonder. If you can spice the gameplay up, Like, let's say I can build a garden with Mike and I need to return every week and do that, but then I also can scavenge and play a mission where I need to kill some enemies. Then you like spread it out with different things you can do. But if it's always that shooting mechanic that is always involved with that, it starts to get repetitive.
Quick segue here, like a Stardew Valley in VR. We need something like that.
That sounds great.
Cool.
Yeah, but this game is obviously due for release in 2019. But it's kind of cool. Like, we've got this big title from Insomniac. We've also got this big title from Respawn coming out in 2019. Yep. So I'm glad that we're getting a bit more sort of a teaser of what's coming out in the future. Give us some sort of hope, stuff to look forward to.
Games start to look better and better VR wise. I mean, this trailer, of course, is very polished, but I still think that the actual gameplay is going to look very impressive graphically as well. So we're really heading towards a new like standard too, you know. But I would love to see other developers, like Oculus now needs to spend some money on devs to make things, you know, and it's very good. I think it's very good for the market. But let's say if there are soon also developers just making this themselves, because right now developers need Oculus to reach this quality level. I don't think many developers can really spend that much money to make a game like this Stormland one.
Yeah, it's quality level.
You know what I mean? So it's really like you need them to do it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we've said this before, that the hardware manufacturers, people like Valve, people like HTC, Climax, whatever it may be, should start backing these games and, you know, funding these developments, you know, to show off the hardware to its fullest potential.
Yeah, but I'm sure the more games Oculus makes and when Valve also steps in with their games, it will make VR more popular. And then before you know it, you can just make a game yourself without really... Because that's it. Like, the developers that now make games for Oculus are AAA devs, and that's very good. But then after a while, you have a big community playing all these games because they know, hey, I played Lone Echo, great, so I can expect more games coming, you know? So then, because right now, this is the only way you can really make it grow and also let people experience something next level.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Okay, so let's move on to our second topic of this week, and that is Apple ARKit 2. So on Monday this week, Apple held their annual worldwide developers conference in San Jose in California. Unfortunately, there wasn't any new hardware announcements, you know, no new iPhones, no iPads or Macs.
Sorry, Rowdy.
And there wasn't any sneak peeks either of, you know, any VR projects or anything like that. However, they did show off their new Apple ARKit 2.
Yeah.
And they've updated their SDK, so it now has improved face tracking, realistic rendering, 3D object detection, persistent experiences, and also shared experiences. So what they're saying is with persistent experiences that you can tie an augmented reality application to an object, and then it will be there persistently. So when you return later on and, you know, look at it through either your device or whatever it may be, the item will still be there and it will stay there in real time.
Yeah.
But also shared experiences. So the idea with that is that, you know, you can create an experience and then, you know, like we've played games together, Zim, you know, like that AR Tanks game, you know, we're looking at it and we're sharing it together, but also that a third person could come in with their device and spectate the whole thing.
But you know what that's about, Mike, right? You know, that's about like, you know, casting on YouTube or, you know, anything. It's just like, it's so cool to see that they're finally, you know, thinking about how the content is going to be shared and really supporting it from the base. It's so good to see it. Also, the Lego demonstration that they did where they had, you know, an existing Lego block. I'm not going to just repeat what they said, but, you know, to be able to have something physical, then you build a wider environment. It's this whole kind of cross-stepping that we've seen a couple of times. The Sims has done it very well, that if you can open up the digital marketplace, you and you're pushing no longer just, you know, brick and mortar store experiences, you're actually pushing digital experiences. The amount of money you can make off of that as a company is enormous. So seeing Lego step into digital, it was a really big piece here.
Very
I mean, they've been doing games for ages on 2D, but seeing them step into this environment, it's another heavyweight joining the frame.
Yeah, and the more you see these announcements coming by, the more you start to understand what they are going for here, because they seem to really build with like mobile phones right now, like the AR market, and then when the AR headsets are more affordable or like more advanced, they can all like use all of that content and just place it towards the actual like glasses you are wearing, and that's super smart. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. Like I was going to mention the Lego thing, and if you guys haven't seen it, I'll kind of describe it. You had like a Lego set that was like a building, right? Like a house or like an apartment store or whatever it was, and then they were looking through an iPad each, so 2 guys using an iPad each, and then they were adding more digital stores, but they looked identical to like the physical one in this play space, and then they built sort of virtual worlds around them to sort of link them all together, and then you could use like virtual characters, like little minifig characters, to hop into like cars and other sort of like interactable objects. And it looked so cool. But I was sitting there watching it, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is so cool. You can sort of even go into an X-ray view of the building and see the little minifigs working around
physical
inside
building.
the physical,
yeah, exactly.
the physical
so the
building
item
that
you have
made.
in front of you.
Yeah. And I was like, that is so clever. That is so clever. But then I was like, what freaking kid is sitting there playing with Lego and then is playing with Lego physically with one hand and then holding his phone like this so he can see this digital world through his eyes in the other hand?
That's good. I think it's like a fun like sales point right now to put that on the box, even that you don't really know if it's really gonna work out. Like for me, when I was playing with Lego, I was always using my own imagination. I don't think that most kids even need an AR app to see their like little figures move and what's going on inside. At least that's how I always played with Lego. Like this imagination was going to a level that like adults never will be able to like even, So I don't really know. But the multiplayer aspect, where your friend comes by and you show off your new Lego house and they can just play together, that's interesting. Then the social part, I think, is the coolest thing here, because you can share your own.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's amazing. Like, when you combine the physical world and the augmented world, and you can't really distinguish between the two, that's really magical. But what I was thinking in my mind was, just get rid of the freaking iPad, get rid of the iPhone, and let me have some Apple AR glasses where I can just put them on, and then I can.
That's where we're going, Mike. That's the next.
Of course.
And as the subject matter expert in this space, right, who has a kid who's been playing Smash Tanks out in the garden for like 2 hours at a time, I can tell you that there is no hesitation, with a 4-year-old to, know how to use, to jump into and demand to play that game, to actually walk around and like look at the tanks and the cute characters. So Smash Tanks is a great existing AR experience right now for like £2. Great game. If you got any friends, you can play on your device or have 2 devices or whatever. But we had this challenge. It was like, I don't want to give my little girl my phone. I want her to have a tablet or another device. So when I saw this, I was like, you've just solved my problem. You've just fixed my problem. Thank you. And this is like not coming. I don't know if it's out already, but it's soon that they're going to have this out for devs. So now all I got to do is go bug that developer to go, update to the new API.
Yeah, exactly. And it, I'm pretty sure that the Apple AR glasses will be here soon enough, like, within the next couple of years, with all the other AR glasses manufacturers like Magic Leap and everything
Can't be
else
soon enough,
seen.
Mike. Can't be soon enough.
But I totally agree. Like, I like the idea of this technology, and the more I see little demos like this, it kind of gets me more sold on the idea of augmented reality. Yeah. But really, it needs that kind of like hands.
You don't want to look through your phone to see something. No, it's not immersive enough.
No, you want it. You want the world to be.
But that's why, that's why they now build all this software, and I'm sure it's like easy. You can easily bring that to glasses. Something that I also liked, and I'm not sure if this is like people are like all like discussing right now what is AR and what isn't, because right now AR is on your phone too.
Of course, like Snapchat filters are AR.
Because they were showing that you could be someone else and then still talk and have moving eyes, and that was also very, very interesting.
Are you talking about the emojis?
Yeah, where you could be like, you could make your own emoji and then also like put it on your face and then talk with other people that were also dressed up as their like I don't know.
Yeah, ready. Or you could be a talking poop. You could be a talking poop.
You can. And there are like some new characters too now that have been added, like a cat and things like that. You have all kinds of new characters that you can be.
Yeah, so there we go. There's some news from Apple this week in terms of AR. I think it has a great future, but I really think it needs to be hands-free for it to be super successful.
Yeah, I think Rowdy is planning to buy an iPhone now, because he says like, I can be a talking poop. Yeah, you can't do that on
an Android. No, that's true. And that's the thing, because he's not here, he can't defend himself, so it must be true.
Yeah, it must be true.
Okay. So, like, our final topic of today is going to be E3, because obviously that is happening this week. Nathie is obviously going.
Yes.
You actually fly out tomorrow?
Yeah, I will be flying out tomorrow, and Yeah, I like that's the thing with E3. Like a part of it is like announcements on paper. You know what is going to come. I mean, Sony is like tweeting all kinds of stuff. You know, like the Tetris game, and like there was a new one that came out today, like a third person one as an announcement. But yes, there is so much going on, and you can just clearly see that VR is becoming bigger and bigger. I mean, the E3 is the place to be to announce your game. Of course, like Oculus Connect is important too, GDC as well. You know, like I think Alchemy Labs, they announced their game at the Video Game Awards. So there are like all kinds of places where you can do it. But you see slowly more VR, you know, slipping into the E3 as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and like we have some information about games that are coming out. You know, like we talked about Transcendence last episode. You know, that's going to be there. Stormland, maybe they'll show some gameplay stuff there. Like you mentioned, Tetris Effect for PSVR. Arka's Path, which is a game from Rebellion, which we'll probably talk about more next week. But that's going to be cross-platform, PSVR, Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, Oculus Go, other mobile headsets as well. So you know, it's cool that we're getting a lot of VR news coming into E3 as well. But I'd love to know what you guys think, and also in the chat what they think in terms of like predictions, what's going to come up, if there's going to be any titles that they know or they've heard little snippets about that are going to be announced at the show, or any like they just have on their wish list, like what would be on their wish list. And I'll sort of kick things off with some sort of rumors that I heard this week, and that was that Alien Isolation 2 is going to be announced at E3. There was a post on Reddit leaking a picture of the main character, Amanda, from the original game. That there's going to be an Alien Isolation 2 game, and it's going to be have VR support natively from launch day. Obviously they got a lot of feedback in terms of Alien Isolation VR, to the point where the community just decided to make their own version of a VR game and mod it to get it to work. So there is a big interest in VR for Alien Isolation, and if this is true, then I think that's the one I'm probably most excited about. Because if the developers, which are they took down their website recently as well, they're called a Creative Assembly. They took their website down this week as well, which would also suggest that maybe the rumor's true, that they're updating it ready for E3.
But it's still like the same developer who makes the second one.
The original one, Alien Isolation,
huge.
Okay,
same
in collaboration with Sega, right?
Yes, it was originally, so it was Sega and Creative Assembly, wasn't it?
Yeah, because when they first showed off Alien Isolation, they actually had VR support, so they were working on that. Like this mod, it wasn't a mod, it was based on what they actually were planning to bring out. So I'm sure they did a lot of research to VR. I'm not sure why they in the middle just stopped. Maybe they were like, hey, later on we will get motion controllers. This can be so much cooler than just some positional tracking. But that's a title that is just too terrifying. I'm like, if it's there, I will make a photo for you of the booth. That's all I do, okay? that's it. I'm not seriously. I'm not.
Just take some adult diapers. You'll be fine.
I played Alien Isolation with the DK2. Like hearing that alien just chase you while you're running down the hallways, and then see that like weird tail going through your body. Oh my god! I was so terrified.
I think you're right, because I forgot that when Alien Isolation originally launched, the touch controllers weren't out at that point, were they? So that's probably
no.
Why,
I never played it with that. That's actually a very good. It's a very good point, Mike. But when you say that, it's like, oh, it's going to be VR. Like my assumption is, of course, it will be, because the first one was. I mean, literally, this is the way it dropped. It was like, oh, Alien Isolation is coming out, and maybe it doesn't have official VR support, and then you literally go into an ini file and you change a thing that says like from no to yes, and that was it, and then it works. Now it wasn't perfect because some of the screens. Were a little bit challenging to read in the DK2 at the time. And so I think the reason they didn't bring that forward to Rift natively is because of the retooling, and probably they were already working on 2.0 in their shop. So why dedicate the software people to that? And then the mod team came in and did the nice patch job. So I did hear earlier, by the way, PD mentioned there's been an update to the Mother mod this week. So he mentioned this earlier on, and he said it's getting a major update in a few days, is what PD says.
All right, cool.
So good to hear that.
If you haven't checked out the original Alien Isolation with the Mother mod, which is available, you can just Google it and you can find out instructions how to install it. It is an awesome experience, and if they can make this from the ground up with VR support, then that's
Okay.
got me very
Yeah.
excited indeed.
Yeah.
But let's move on to some other things that I think are probably going to happen. I would say it's probably highly likely that Beat Saber is going to be announced for PSVR at E3. I would be really surprised if it doesn't, because the devs have been kind of like they can't confirm obviously that they're working on a PSVR version, but they've been sort of absent in their comments.
I can tell you
to
that
suggest they are.
I messaged them saying like, "Hey, are you at E3? Let's meet and whatever, you know." And they said like, "Yeah, we're very busy working on our game." So I mean, enough said, I guess.
Mike's right.
Yeah.
It's a smart
So
one.
yeah, I think they're going to announce
And it works
that it's going to be
on a
coming.
PlayStation VR. I mean, it's a front-facing thing, so I mean, nothing can really go wrong, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, like we had some friends over last night and sort of introduced them to VR, you know, put them through the Oculus Stream Deck, and then we just jumped straight into a Beat Saber session playing custom tracks, and we had an absolute blast. So I'm really excited for the PSVR community to finally be able to play it, because I think it's a fantastic game. But also other sort of things I really want to see at the show are Resident Evil 7 finally coming to PC. I really want that to happen. Like, please just put me out of my misery so I can actually play this game, so I don't have to buy it on PSVR. Fingers crossed.
Maybe like Resident Evil itself wasn't an exclusive, just the VR support itself.
Oh,
like some juicy things I heard is that there might, I don't know, like this is the E3 guys, like there's so much bullshit just getting announced on Reddit and everywhere. I saw something about Super Cold, could be a big troll, I don't know, but
yeah, Super Cold, which is like the sequel to Super Hot, right?
Yeah.
It could be a big troll. Like it's funny because the Super Hot devs actually commented on our previous episode of the podcast, and they were like, oh, don't worry, your mind's in a cage, like free your mind, like that kind of cryptic message. I was like, okay, these dudes are pretty weird. But if they called their game Super Cold, then it would be kind of cool, I think.
Yeah.
If it had a completely sort of different sort of story arc to it, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
I totally accept that name. I would totally accept that name. It's a cool next.
It's like to me, it sounds like some kind of like dark level with dark game with some stealth mechanics in there, with something totally new and different weapons and things. Even if it would be the same thing they are doing, I would still like to play it. I mean,
totally.
And there is another one, and that's of course my personal favorite rumor is of course BioShock on the PlayStation VR, an experience, I guess, not a full game. But I don't want to disappoint myself, but I'm already like too far that I can't really get that out of my head anymore.
You're pretty triggered by this one.
They actually got me. They got me with this nonsense.
Because the game that they sort of it kind of leaked on a list, didn't it? Along with some other games on the list. So it was called BioShock Resurgence. That was the name. And it said that it had like a PSVR mode to it. So it wouldn't necessarily be like the game, or it could be the game, but it might just be like a mode.
I mean, it's no secret that there will be a new BioShock game coming in the future. And if that is going to have some VR support, it would be cool. But I think if they do VR, it's going to be an extra experience and not the full game. But I don't know. I mean, the original BioShock Infinite worked fine with Farpax. It's very impressive.
Yeah. Because also on that list, just to let you know, because Nathie tweeted it out this week as well, and we don't know whether this list is like legit
I think
or
it's
not.
fake.
But it had like sort of PlayStation Party was a PSVR title, Spider-Man PSVR mode, so a PSVR mode to the new Spider-Man game, which is obviously a pancake game, a Resident Evil 2 remake game with a PSVR mode as well, and obviously BioShock Resurgence. So we don't know if that's going to be true or not, but we'll soon find out like in the coming week.
The only thing I know is that Sony is going to be the one that kills it with VR once again. They are the ones that just bring out so many VR titles. Maybe we see like Devolver, who also is the one that is the publisher of Serious Sam and those kind of games. Maybe they come with like a new VR game. That could be an option.
Yeah. So for me, like Microsoft have got like a big presence at E3 this year as well. So whether they're going to pull something out the bag and finally show their hand in the VR market, that'll be really interesting. Like if that happens, then I'll be like pretty happy, because like the more people involved in VR, and like it was always a rumor as well, like with the Xbox One X, because it was like more powerful, a bit like the PlayStation Pro, that using that console you could maybe play VR games. And the fact that Microsoft have got all this like mixed reality headset, line from all these manufacturers, if they could just enable it so it's compatible with the Xbox One X, then we've got another great system on the market that can deliver, a PC VR sort of experience on a console.
So Mike,
and I think that's what it needs.
You're like, please just move Resident Evil from the console to PC so I can play it, and then you're saying screws him over by releasing yet another console with another VR headset that he has to cover. That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying is I want more people involved in VR, like coming to consoles. I don't necessarily want to play them myself. Like, I'm just happy with my PC headsets.
I knew that.
I do think, like, you guys know the console war between PlayStation and Xbox. Like, if you have this in VR, that's going to be very interesting. And like, still, if they don't do VR this year, it's still not going to hurt them, because you can still see that VR is still not at a level where it's really like necessary to bring out a VR headset.
They can wait. I agree.
They can wait. If they wait for the right moment, they can maybe even make a better start than doing it way too early. And they made the Kinect. They know how to like kind of track stuff, and I mean, I'm sure they're going to do something, but they're not in a hurry, just like some other companies out there.
Yeah, it's funny because previously they have been asked the question, and they said that we'll make VR headsets for like Xbox when their like wireless technology is more advanced. That's pretty much their answer. But I don't know. I'd still like to see them throw their hat in the ring and get involved.
Dude,
it's got to be tough.
They're
it's
not
going to be
wait
tough
for
right
wireless.
now, though, because they just did the whole Windows mixed reality headset spiel. That took development, whole bunch of different relationships external to Microsoft. That's got to be dragging them back, I would imagine, at this stage. The sales there couldn't be amazing.
I don't think they're going to wait for wireless, because in the end, that's the market, right? You first sell a headset with a wire, then you sell one without a wire, then you sell one with whatever tracking. That's how you can sell new headsets, and then you can upgrade them. I think they will do it, but as Zim said, like they have been now testing the market with the mixed reality headsets. And even like there is a big community with like MR headsets right now.
There is. But they must have known in the back of their minds that they're going to bring this to console eventually. Like, they must have known that, surely.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, who knows? Time will tell. Like, the only thing I can remember, I've been talking about like 2 years ago. I said, hey, what if you can plug a Oculus Rift into your Xbox? Because they did a partnership back then. Do you know, at E3, I think it was 2 years ago, they were at E3 and they did something with Oculus. And then we were like, oh, okay, here we go. Now they're going to make an extra headset for the Xbox only. Never happened. No. So the only collaboration in the end, what they did was they launched the Oculus Rift with a gamepad. That's what they did. That's exactly, all. Nothing else. So,
which, by rumor, was the piece that delayed it.
Yeah, because there were not enough.
But the other thing is, I think in Palmer's unveiling, because me and the team covered it, and I can remember them saying that you were going to be able to run off an Xbox and play through your Rift. I remember them. I think they committed that actually in that unveiling, if I'm not mistaken, and we never got that.
Yeah. If they did something like that, I would love something like that. Some really sort of like game-changing news. That's what I want this E3.
I really feel crazy. Like this E3 will be led by the indie VR titles and not by any... Like, we have seen some E3 trailers like, Stormland, but that's an E3 announcement trailer. It's just like, hey, here's the trailer. Maybe you can play something there. Who knows? But... there is a lot of VR there, but it's more indie, and it's not really... This year, it seems like they are really focusing on that. Of course, Sony has like a big booth. They call it like the Stacks, like Ready Player One, where you can play all kinds of things. But funny enough, you are not even allowed to even make snaps there or video. So apparently, these titles are very exclusive and are not out there yet. So that's
so they're confirming that they are the real life IOI.
Yeah, maybe. But that does mean that the games can be very spicy and that they are very good, because if you are not allowed to make a video of a game, that says enough about what games they are going to show them.
Yeah. Well, we have our little mole. He's going to be infiltrating them.
I'm going to pass out because of all the awesomeness I'm going to see. It's like the Disneyland of games, right?
Yeah. So any other prediction suggestions from you guys before I wrap this one up?
I think just from what I've seen lately in that part of the world as well, I think you're going to see a lot more AR than you have in the past as well, because AR seems to be very heavy hinge. And also, I'm really interested. Keep your eyes open for anything in the AR space that's a game. I saw some multiplayer games where 3-4 of you are wizards, battling in an environment, and you see a dragon flying by, and you're all trying to like cast spells at it. But like what Mike says, there's an awkwardness to kind of having to hold your phone. Or if you're, an American tourist, a giant 27-inch tablet and walking around the field, because we know those guys do that in London. But anyway, I'm looking forward to any multiplayer experiences in AR and see where they go with that, because there's going to be some cool game in that sphere at some point that's going to be unmissable.
Yeah,
and I'm just waiting to hear about it.
I don't think we will see that much AR on E3, because E3 is more of a place where you announce something big. It's not really where you show something off that much. Of course, like the big AAA developers do that, but usually if you want to show something off, VR or AR related, you go to Gamescom, because that's more the show floor where people try and play. Well, E3 is for press. It's a press paradise. That's what it is. It's not really for the consumer to like really compared to Gamescom. Like that's the place where it's really gonna happen VR wise, I think. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, hopefully in next week's episode we'll have all this insider information. We'll be able to tell you
back
everything.
in time. Don't worry. I don't know how the jet lag is gonna be, but we'll see. We'll see.
I'm pretty hyped. I might even maybe we should try and arrange some sort of like live stream when some of the press conferences are going on. We can maybe sort of watch it together and talk to the community while we do it. Maybe I'll try and organize.
That's a very cool idea. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just go over the show times again. So it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on Nathie's YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at the new times of 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday in Central US. If you missed the live stream, you can catch up with the audio version, available on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. And if you missed the show, then you can catch up the re-upload, which I do every Sunday on my own channel, Virtual Reality Oasis. Apologies for all these sort of issues that we've had this week. It's kind of been one of those crazy ones. It's like the curse of like the round number, like episode 40. All of a sudden, everything just goes crazy.
We knew this was going to happen. We were like, oh no, 40 is coming closer. It's happening.
Exactly.
And Mike, a minute of silence and rip Rowdy.
Yeah. Dab for Rowdy. Bless him.
Someone wanted it earlier, so.
We'll be back on track next week, and we'll spend some more time before the show getting everything sort of ironed out, so we've got a smooth show next week for you, and hopefully, like I say, with all the inside information from E3 as well. So I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this one, and sorry again for all the technical issues, and we'll see you on next week's episode. So until then, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. Later wouldn't do.